We are following some breaking news. A truck spilling thousands of gallons of chemicals in Spring Valley.
Santa Ana winds bringing dry, gusty, and warm conditions to the county. I'm tracking the peak winds and when things will calm down.
The latest on escalating tensions in Iran and the impact that situation is having right now here in San Diego. 10 News Midday starts now.
Live from the Scripps Studios, this is 10 News.
It is good to have you here. We are talking about strong Santa Ana winds on this Monday. I'm Jim Pett.
I'm Virginia Chow. Let's get right to 10 News meteorologist Megan Perry, because you have been tracking these conditions and there's gusts. Some of them are really high.
Yes, very strong winds in parts of the county. In fact, I want to start off with the peak wind gusts we've seen so far this morning. Sill Hill, which is located pretty much right between Alpine and Julian, 77 miles per hour. That is typically one of our windier spots when we do have Santa Ana winds. Alpine and Big Black Mountain have seen wind gusts in excess of 60 miles per hour. Palomar Mountain up to 56, Pine Valley and Descanso 45 mile per hour winds. You can see the flag in Julian, the trees kind of waving around in those winds right now as we look from the Pioneer Museum. And look at the current wind gusts. Alpine at 36, Otay Mountain at 37, Pine Valley just about as strong. Julian seeing gusts up to 29 miles per hour and Descanso about 40. We are in a wind advisory for our inland neighborhoods with a high wind warning for our mountains. Both of those go until noon tomorrow with the strongest winds today. Again, a few isolated gusts will exceed 60 miles per hour, which is exactly what we've been seeing. In fact, our 10 News anchor Mary McKenzie is out in Alpine, where we have seen winds in excess of 60 miles per hour. How is it feeling out there, Mary?
Driving out here, we can certainly feel it in our live truck along the 8. You can see it in the trees whipping around here right now. That wind always puts people a bit on edge in places like Alpine.
Well, you appreciate California. Woo!
We talked to Maddie Medina when a big gust of wind popped up. She's too young to remember the 2003 fires here, but as it is for so many people in Alpine, the wind is a warning.
If it gets windy, just hook up the trailer and have it ready, because you never know.
Fortunately, this wind comes on the heels of recent rain, which CAL FIRE says reduces the chances for fire, although it doesn't take too many days without it to dry up the brush. And the CHP does have a wind advisory in effect for the 8 right here at Willow. So for those of you traveling in those high-profile vehicles, be aware that the gusts are certainly up at this time from these Santa Ana wind conditions. In Alpine, Mary McKenzie, 10 News.
And happening now, a man convicted of murdering his roommate and then placing his body in a barrel being sentenced.
10 News reporter Marie Cornell is live downtown. Marie, what's happened so far?
So, Virginia, we've seen a slideshow with pictures of the victim that the family made. We also heard from the victim's mother and the victim's sister. They both said they forgive the man who killed their loved one.
What I want is my brother. Mr. Cook, I forgive you. And it is a decision that I make every day when I wake up. It is a decision I will always make for the rest of my life. I hope you choose fearfully and wisely how you want to spend your eternity.
And this is how Timothy Cook reacted listening to those family members of Omar Medina as they addressed the court. Last month, Cook was found guilty of stabbing his roommate Medina more than 60 times. Prosecutors say he then put Medina's body in a drum, which was later found floating in the San Diego Bay. They say Cook was after Medina's money. He recently had been awarded in a settlement. Now, we just got word from our crew inside of the courthouse that Cook has been sentenced to 56 years to life, minus time that's already been served, plus restitution to the family. So again, the judge just handed down her sentence, 56 years to life, minus time already served, plus restitution to the family. We are live from downtown. Marie Cornell, 10 News.
Marie, thank you. Thousands of people crowding the streets of Tehran for the funeral of Qasem Soleimani, the general killed by a U.S. airstrike. And now, as Iran promises retribution and to lift restrictions on its nuclear program, a fight in the U.S. over what comes next. ABC's Julia McFarland has more.
President Trump landing back in Washington last night and facing a storm. The attack on Iran's top general, head of the Quds Force, listed as a terror organization, sparking fears about the possible consequences. Democrats also upset at what they say is a lack of transparency surrounding the move. All this as the regime announced it is scrapping all outstanding restrictions from the nuclear deal. Speaker Nancy Pelosi announcing a war powers resolution seeking to limit military action taken by the Trump administration. Elizabeth Warren raising questions over the timing of the strike.
Why now? I think people are starting to ask, why now did he do this? Why not delay?
Trump's original claim that Soleimani's killing prevented an attack, challenged on the Sunday shows.
When you say the attacks were imminent, how imminent were they?
If you're an American in the region, days and weeks, this is not something that's relevant.
Over the weekend, President Trump doubling down on his plan to attack Iranian cultural sites should Iran attack any Americans or U.S. interests. Iran home to ruins and antiquities dating back millennia. Boris Johnson's official spokesman saying their destruction is prohibited under treaties and conventions of which the U.S. is a signatory. Meanwhile, a non-binding vote in the Iraqi parliament to expel foreign troops has been another destabilizing outcome. European allies in Iraq calling for de-escalation. Germany saying they will respect any decision of the Iraqi government. The Brits underlying the importance of the ongoing fight against ISIS. Meanwhile, in Iran, hundreds of thousands have been mourning and marching in the streets for 3 days. Cities like Avaz and Mashhad were the scene of anti-government protests since 2017. Now the Iranian leadership touting these crowds as the U.S. attack seems to have people rallying behind the regime.
And there were similarly huge crowds in Iraq, thousands of people turning out to pay their respects to General Qasem Soleimani and an Iraqi militia leader, both killed on Iraqi soil in that drone strike that has lit up tensions in the region once more. Julia McFarlane, ABC News, London.
Now, all weekend, lawmakers here have been weighing in on the action taken by the president, and today we are hearing from local Congressman Mike Levin. He put out a statement that reads, in part, Qasem Soleimani was responsible for the deaths of many Americans and for horrible violence around the world. He deserved to be brought to justice. At the same time, I am very troubled that this strike took place without appropriate consultation with Congress. The administration's actions have put American lives at increased risk and greatly raised the possibility of another major conflict, end quote.
And meanwhile, though the effects of those tensions reaching all the way back home, this is what the traffic looked like on Coronado. Cars backed up from the naval base to the bridge after installation stepped up security. And this, the traffic situation on the 15 this morning as people arrive for work at MCAS Miramar. Bases are posting details on the new security measures online, but some include checking everyone's ID regardless of clearances and going through some extra steps to get a visitor on base. And we're going to continue to follow this story as the situation develops. For the latest updates, look for our story on the 10news.com homepage.
We are tracking breaking news out of Spring Valley where a tanker truck overturned, spilling thousands of gallons of chlorine.
Yeah, 10 News reporter Mimi Alcala joins us live from the scene along Hamershaw Road. And Mimi, how goes the containment there?
Well, they have the spill under control, so that is the good news here, Jim, Virginia. But you could see that 5,000-gallon tanker flipped over on its side. This is right off of Hamershaw Boulevard, as you mentioned. And you can see it is hooked up to a tow truck right now, but they are waiting for sand to come in that they can throw down in case this thing does spill again. This happened when asphalt gave way and a hole opened in the ground right underneath that tanker. We do have some video to show you from earlier. This caused the tanker to flip over and approximately 2,500 gallons of chlorine, pool chlorine, spilled out and leaked into the storm drain, which is very concerning because the drain actually flows into the Sweetwater Reservoir. So right now, crews are worried about the environmental impact of that. Several agencies responded around 8:30 this morning. Hazmat crews are still here on scene. They have secured the leak, like I mentioned, but now the focus is on the environmental issues. The company that owns the tanker is HASA Company, and they're a distributor of pool cleaning chemicals. So right now things are under control. The main concern though is did this chlorine in fact get into the reservoir? So that is what they are waiting to find out right now. And again, they are waiting on sand to throw down before they can turn this thing upright. We of course will bring you any new developments as we learn more, but for now we're live in Spring Valley. Mimi Alcala, 10 News.
Thank you, Mimi. A high-speed chase coming to a crashing end also in Spring Valley. Police say the chase started in Chula Vista just before 5 this morning, sped up The 125, the driver took the Hamishaw Road exit, crashed shortly afterwards. You can see what happened to his car. It ended up on its side. The driver right there taken to a hospital. We are still looking into why police were chasing that driver in the first place.
Almost a third of registered voters in San Diego are nonpartisan, and if that's you, you won't be able to vote for a presidential candidate in the March primary unless you declare a specific party preference. Today is the deadline to make that choice if you plan to vote by mail. If you don't choose a party, you can still use your nonpartisan mail-in ballot, but it will not include the presidential candidates. For more information on selecting your party preference, head to sdvote.com.
Californians are all too familiar with wildfires, and as countless fires rage on across Australia, California is now sending help down under.
And an earthquake rattling Puerto Rico, damaging homes and roads. Time now to check traffic with Officer Jim Betancourt. How are we looking out there, Jim?
We're actually looking really good at this hour. No major problems to report on the main lines of the freeway right now. There's the 5 at the 56. From there all the way up to the North County, it looks like you're going to be incident free. And if you're going to be on the 78, anywhere from San Marcos, Escondido, all the way into Oceanside, it looks good as well. I'm Officer Jim Betancourt with your 10 News Time Saver Traffic.
Deadly chain reaction pileup in Pennsylvania leaves at least 5 people dead, dozens more hurt, several tractor trailers and a tour bus colliding on the rain-slicked roads. Nearly 90 miles of the turnpike were shut down and passengers were scattered everywhere.
This guy was looking for his brother and this lady was looking for one of her kids.
Accident happened just before 4 in the morning yesterday. Authorities are still investigating the exact cause.
Some pretty scary moments for airline passengers after one of the plane's wheels caught fire before falling off during takeoff. ABC's David Curley shows us what happened and how pilots were able to save the day.
The frightening sight, sparks, then flames as the plane rolls down the runway for takeoff. Then just as it lifts off, that wheel on the landing gear falls completely off.
We have report probably a tire fell off the plane on the runway.
The runway is shut down as the passengers on this plane prepare to return to Montreal. The pilots of the Dash 8 circle to burn off fuel before coming back to land with just one tire on that left landing gear.
This is a very tough airplane, and it's designed to be able to support the weight of the airplane on one wheel on each side.
The plane, with 52 on board, does make a safe landing. The airline saying the experienced pilots maintained complete control of the aircraft. But the Canadian Transportation Safety Board says it is already talking to the airline about this wheel and why it sparked and then caught fire.
Take a look at this map here. You see the epicenter of an earthquake just off the southern coast of Puerto Rico. 5.8 magnitude quake hitting Puerto Rico this morning just before dawn, triggering landslides, damaging homes, causing power outages. This is one of the strongest quakes to hit the area. That's been shaking for the past week with other tremors. Several homes have severe cracking, but there have been no reports of anyone being hurt.
Well, devastating wildfires are still burning all around Australia, and today the government there is pledging to pay whatever it takes to recover. Prime Minister Scott Morrison committing an extra $2 billion Australian dollars to help communities, in addition to tens of millions of dollars already promised. Morrison says he expects these fires to keep burning for months. The death toll has jumped to 24, but there are people still missing. More than 100 fires burning around the country, with 65 uncontained, according to the New South Wales Rural Fire Service. And over the weekend, California announcing plans to send 20 veteran firefighters to Australia to help them with their firefighting efforts. LeBron James and Anthony Davis were both on the floor, but the biggest shot of the Lakers game last night may have come from a fan.
And later, how one community stepped up in a big way after some thieves stole thousands from a church.
The stars were out during last night's Lakers-Pistons game, but the biggest shot of the night probably happened during a timeout.
Yeah, one fan got called out onto the court to have a go at a half-court shot. Fan stepped into that shot here with confidence, good form, and just drained it.
Wow.
Crowd erupted as he ran around the court celebrating, and he has a lot of reasons to be happy. That shot netted him $100,000.
This 10 News Pinpoint Weather Report is sponsored by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air. Nobody wows clients like we do.
And then right after that, the Lakers signed him, right?
Exactly. It was clutch.
Oh my goodness.
That was like nothing but
it was
net.
a beautiful shot.
Perfect. Wow, good for him. All right, so it is sunny outside, crystal clear skies. In fact, as we look across our 10 News sky cams from downtown all the way out to Ramona and Mount Laguna, we are warm, 75 in Kearney Mesa, 77 in Poway right now. In fact, most of the county in the 70s, 50s, 40s, and 60s up and down our mountain areas, but most of our mountains will end up today in the 50s. Temperatures much warmer than we were 24 hours ago. The biggest jump is closer to our coastline, Oceanside, Carlsbad, Vista, Fallbrook, all at least 10 degrees warmer than yesterday, 20 degrees warmer than Vista. And as we talk about those winds, it has been very gusty all morning long, really in the foothill and mountain areas in particular. That's where those stronger winds have been. Descanso right now at 40, Pine Valley at 34, Harrison Park at 35, and Hellhole Canyon up in the North County up about 21 miles per hour. So the winds will start to taper off a little bit this afternoon, still pretty breezy. And then overnight tonight into tomorrow morning, the winds will pick up once again with a secondary weaker peak, but the strongest winds have likely already happened. Really not going to see those build again as we head into the afternoon. So high pressure sitting over the Great Basin, that colder air coming in, turning to the Santa Ana winds that we're seeing today and tomorrow. And then another storm system is going to be passing by to the north of us by midweek. Temperatures will be plummeting anywhere from 5 to 15 degrees by then. So low 60s midweek, a very slight chance for some showers Thursday and then again on Sunday as two storms are going to be passing by to the north of us. At this point, it looks like the moisture is really going to be staying to the north of us, but depending on where that track goes, we could see some changes. So for right now, it's just a slight chance. 70s again tomorrow inland and still breezy, but not as windy as today, and then 60s by midweek. 50s and 40s this week in the mountain areas with those gusty easterly winds today and then westerly winds on Thursday, and temperatures in the 70s through Wednesday in the deserts. Guys?
Thank you, Megan. A new year means new opportunities.
Where San Diego ranks among U.S. cities if you're looking to shake up your career.
Let's see what's happening on this first Monday of the new year trading day, or the first Monday for trading on Wall Street. And you can see the Dow's only up about 14 points, but this represents a huge improvement because it was down about 200 points earlier today. One of the biggest things weighing on investors is the tension escalating in the Middle East between Iran and the U.S. But some stocks that are leading the way, Apple is up, Bed Bath & Beyond is up, and also Nordstrom, all up.
After months of turmoil and groundings, a new setback for Boeing. The company says it may have found another design flaw with its 737 MAX planes. As part of an FAA audit last month, Boeing reported possible issues with the plane's wiring. That's according to a report from the New York Times. The company says it's looking into whether that could cause a short circuit that could lead to a crash. It's unclear right now if this latest problem will extend the grounding of the 737 fleet. Production of the MAX jet has been suspended indefinitely.
A recall alert for you for Mercedes drivers. This affects hundreds of thousands of vehicles. The automaker says 750,000 cars are at risk of losing their sunroofs. The recall affects the C-Class as well as the E, CLK, and CLS classes made between 2001 and 2011. The company says sunroofs on those cars are at risk of flying off if the material around them deteriorates.
With the new year comes new beginnings, and for many, that means finding a new job. According to a recent job report, San Diego, one of the top 30 cities for job opportunities. U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics releasing this list showing San Diego coming in at number 29 out of nearly 200 cities based on job market and socioeconomic rank. Also in Southern California, Rancho Cucamonga, number 28, Huntington Beach, 22, coming in at the best place to find a job. Scottsdale, Arizona, followed by South Burlington, Vermont.
For the first time in forever, Frozen 2 has become the highest grossing film in worldwide ticket sales for a movie directed by a woman.
Into the unknown.
And one thing that we do know about is the movie made $1.33 billion at the box office. Jennifer Lee co-directed both Frozen films with Chris Buck. With this record, Lee surpasses her last record with the first Frozen film. The sequel also, by the way, charting as the highest grossing animated film.